I guess let's do it like this or like that. I don't know. How about like this? Anyway, I was outside blowing leaves, so my hair's kind of messed up and all of that. But I was just watching some of the videos from Serpent ZA, and there's a couple guys in his group like Lao Y86, and I've started listening to their material like probably a couple of years ago, but seemed like totally cool dudes, definitely. If I would have known them when I was in Guangzhou for 7 years, I would have loved to have, any, halfway decent foreigners. But I just watched a video about the kindergarten and how it's I don't know. I'm not going to say this right, but don't take offense, man. But so I guess I'm the bottom of the barrel. I took the kindergarten route, and actually, I'm going to agree with most of what he said on the video. I think, well, the video was about criminal behavior in China, which is, I didn't see any criminal behavior in kindergartens in China. So I did see a lot of foreigners who wouldn't show up, get drunk. They'd be there for, basically trying to get their game on with as many girls as possible or whatever. And then there they are, teaching little 3-year-old kids, and they call it kindergarten, but we'd call it preschool. So actually my first job was in Foshan, not in Guangzhou, and I just knew I wanted to be south, and I wanted to be near Hong Kong for purposes of, just having access to the outside world. Because really, regardless of I'm not going to sell you guys a VPN right now, because pretty much if you're in China, they can turn it off and on. Doesn't matter what VPN you have. They can pretty much shut you down if they really want you, which I don't know if they have ever mentioned in some of their videos, but banking is absolutely horrible in mainland China, but and so is the internet. So if you're trying to pay bills, if you're trying to make student loan payments from China, you are, it's a major process to get the money converted into U.S. dollars, and then to get permission to send it out. So everybody knows that. But when you're online, they can literally make it to where even if you have a VPN, you don't have access to your credit card account, you don't have access to your bank account, you don't have access to any of this. So they flip that on and off like a switch. However, I've noticed that, if certain companies have exemptions from the firewall, and this is a long tangent, but I'd like to do more discussion about China, mainland China, and greater China, and Chinese trade, and how we need to be, there's a lot of Chinese traditions and medicine, Chinese tea, Chinese calligraphy. I do speak, a reasonable amount of Chinese. It's kind of wearing off since I've been here. I've been here back in the U.S., in the heartland USA. So, been here. My wife got her green card. We came back in 2016. But mainly, I just wanted to kind of talk about, make this video as a response from Serpent ZA about the criminality, and then he was talking about the kindergarten, just some fat slob, just kind of not really giving. I've never really seen anything sexual. I'm sure that exists at some level, but all of that kind of stuff is kind of kept, especially for children. I mean, they absolutely adore their children, and everything is very cute. Their entire culture is centered around their kids. So I guess that's kind of makes it their culture kind of like, from my perspective, like extremely adorable, especially when you're teaching kindergarten. So a lot of the horrible things that I basically, as a latchkey kid, growing up here in the U.S., and it was pretty much boring. And so I had my job in Kansas City in 2009. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. I didn't wind up finishing my civil engineering degree, but I was working for a great civil engineering company called HNTB. We were working on, among other things, a digital border wall with Mexico. We were working on tank training facilities, like for facilities for the NYPD, training facilities and just stuff like that. So anyway, I had a job that at least was decent in Kansas City. Kansas City was not my dream place to live, and I grew up in Arkansas after we moved out here from LA. So at the time, Kansas City was kind of a big deal because it was a bigger city than I'd lived in at the time, but it's kind of a dump depending on where you live. But actually, I was there to kind of roommate with my brother and for the International House of Prayer there in Kansas City, which is, everything is, hopefully everything that I talk about has some sort of a spiritual bent, because that's kind of who I am as a person. But anyway, so whatever, bunny rabbit trail. So back to the kindergarten, there were quite a few people that they would sign their contract for a year, and then they would just maybe get one paycheck or whatever. Just, you could tell that when I had some really horrible jobs, and I could talk about that. But once I finally found one headmaster or headmistress that was, she was a divorcee in her maybe mid-40s or 50s or so, and I was, I was 32 or so, 30, I guess, when I first came. Anyway, I'll have to get out the whole timeline. But anyway, so I had been in China for several years, and then I finally got a decent job. I felt like I'd been honing my skills, learning how to basically take care of babies, and to, learn how to talk with their parents in Chinese. And he's right on the job about the criminal or whatever. I mean, people pad their resume. Really, I came back and I've been doing remodeling since 2016, so I haven't had any resume that I've needed to pad, but honestly, I do need to get a job. But, I did, I was the manager of all of the English teachers and responsible for their education and curriculum, and I wasn't just somebody that showed up for, a couple days and took off. Actually, the first year, I didn't think I could make it because it was just so isolating and lonely and hard, really. And then I met my first real friend, Peter, Father Peter. He was the priest of a little French Catholic church in Guangzhou. So I started going there. I started hanging out with this priest, and he's just a salt of the earth, great guy. I'd definitely like to talk about at some point, make other videos about him, and I can give you the whole inside scoop with the Catholic Church and the bishop getting kidnapped and all kinds of weird stuff. But so anyway, back to kindergarten. Yeah, the maybe some of the garbage, the lowest of the low, might wind up there, but I guess once I found a decent job, then it was basically a steady income, and I had gained trust. It was all about trust, I think the headmaster had, really felt like I was a trustworthy person, and it was a higher-end private kindergarten that did all sorts of experimental things. Country Garden is the employer that's a big property manager in China. But they also do their education. So anyway, this headmaster has gone up, and now she's in charge of other stuff. But anyway, she treated me fairly, and she really was, you know, was great to work for, really. I mean, and I had a creative outlet, and I could make stuff for the kids. Like, you know, I can go and pull out my pictures of the playhouse that I made out of cardboard box, you know, and with shingles on the roof, and you know, and then of course I cut my thumb, nearly severed a tendon. But you guys, seriously, when I was doing this job, and later I got married to my assistant, who was my wife, and I mean, I tried. I mean, that sounds as unlegit as possible, but I promise, like it was. I think it was cool. I mean, because basically after I'd been working for this kindergarten, and the headmaster really, you know, for the high end kindergarten, they kind of China's a very external, showy society, so it's really important to have pretty girls. So honestly, it was like a honeypot. There were so many beautiful girls there, but you know, I was very professional, and so the second year, she somehow matches me up with the one girl in the class that I like the most. So I'm now married to her and everything, but and that was a long process, you know, just getting to know her, and you know, eventually we started kind of dating, and then I bump into my principal, and then I reached out to my principal and just said, you know, listen, like, you know, we're kind of exploring things here, but it's, you know, we're definitely taking care of the children. Like that's our number one job whenever we're at work. I'm not any slime ball by any means. And I've always had a soft spot for kids. I guess that's why I probably started doing the kindergarten, which you can see a million ridiculous videos of foreigners jumping around like a camp, hopping and doing whatever. But really, if you can do something, those kids are so scared. You don't understand. They're scared of people whose faces are different than theirs because it's such a homogenous society. It's, you know, in many kids' circles, they may never really see any white people. So you kind of have to break the ice, and then you have to, like, especially for little babies, you have to do some goofy stuff. And so, you know, I could maybe upload some of those videos of me playing guitar or singing kids songs and whatever. I mean, it's pretty goofy, and it's probably like not as cool as Serpent ZA and Y86 or whatever, but so anyway, that's kind of my kindergarten experience. It was a really good, like it started out really awful. My first couple of jobs were awful, and in general, I would say kindergarten English teachers are kind of crap. Maybe, like, it's hard to find a good one, and when they definitely stay there for a while. But it is easy for kind of skanky ones to kind of get embedded into the system and to live there year after year. And I never really met anyone that was running from anything or who had accidentally killed policemen like Serpent ZA was saying. But I didn't really like to hang out in bars because I quit smoking cigarettes, and that's just like almost impossible in China to go out drinking and not smoke cigarettes. So, but that is where you learn a lot of stuff. You learn, people start opening up and they start, you know, acting goofy or whatever. And it's just a whole culture of like going out, like usually with your workmates. Like that's pretty huge, like kind of like in Japan and Korea. But anyway, so back to the kindergarten. I mean, it could be a good opportunity. I think, you know, for people who actually care about family values. Like now I have a kid, and he's outside playing, and then my wife's pregnant with the second one. So if you look at my life, you know, I might look like a scumbag loser. Like, look at my hair, you know. Like I haven't shaven, you know. Basically, I'm one of the basement trolls that are online, you know, giving my opinion as loud as possible until they cut down my account, you know, on Twitter or whatever. But when I came here in 2016 with my wife, we got our green card and came out here to Arkansas to be with my parents and, basically to be, to have that family values, a sense of community and, the freedom to, basically express yourself however you want, is core American value. And so she's going to be giving her citizenship oath ceremony December here coming up soon, and I don't know if I'll be able to live stream it or not, but it's a really big deal because she cannot you cannot hold a dual citizenship with China and have a U.S. citizenship. So it's a big deal, and I think there's a lot of potential conflict, with the way things are going in China and possibly the trade relations, so I don't know how things will go, but I think, I think I have a lot to say about China, Chinese culture, especially South Chinese culture. I didn't really go north, didn't want to go to Beijing, didn't really care about Shanghai. My goal was to go as far away from the cities as possible, and I didn't really get that goal very often, but Guizhou is way up like in the foothills of the Tibetan mountains, and that was my dream, was to work for a Dominican school or something, and maybe I might be able to do that because, the central government really allows you some degree of freedom when you're far away. Unless you're in certain supposed autonomous regions that have bad things happen in them, and I don't want to get into that in this video. But so anyway, I went through and I made a reasonable living, and I had to do lesson plans, and eventually I did do a little bit of training center, and I taught pilots. So I'm not going to say that I made a business out of teaching pilots, but that probably was the most interesting English that I taught, because that was like, wow, I'd love to get my pilot's license, because I was helping him with all of these, all of these beacons and navigation and all this, what a terrorist incident, all of this in English. And I'm thinking, man, it'd be so cool if I could get my private, if I could learn to fly eventually. But so, yeah, I've done some stuff like that. I've also, back home, I've had some, I did a little modeling in China, but I'm a little bit fat, a little bit chubby. I'm not going to show you right now, but when I was in China, I was a little bit more fit, and I did some modeling for some Russian designer jeans. It was like some kind of a company that designed jeans for designer labels, and I had to go in there and try it on and everything like that. So I was like, oh dear God, I need some free money, some cheap money, like I think Lao White 86 talks about the monkey jobs, like you got to find something, because you have to be there for a reason, or else you kind of you don't last very long. But there are people who can make ridiculous money modeling this and that. And I had one of my foreign teachers. I think she was Ukrainian. She's a blonde, she did modeling in China. And she would have photographers meet her in Hong Kong, or she would fly out to Taipei or, wherever. And she would model watches and stuff like that. And she would make just ridiculous amounts of money. So, I was under no illusion that I'm as good looking. And even back then, with my, I know I look like a skank, but my goal is to basically convince you guys that I'm some kind of loser, and then do some hocus pocus on your subconscious. Well, not really, but anyway, I do want to talk about China, and hopefully I can make some more videos with some graphs and some cool stuff. Basically, I just need to learn how to run OBS, I think it is. the streaming, to where I can make PowerPoint presentations and put my pictures from China, and then have my little picture in the corner like Stefan Molyneux. But anyway, I'm signing off on kindergartens in China, but I'll probably have more to say because I am a homeschool dad and I'm all about raising potential world-changing genius kids. So anyway, peace out.